Good news, everybody.
Is it good news?
Yeah. Last night, I went on a bender, Spencer.
Okay.
A fucking bender. A writing bender.
All right.
Got about over 1,500 words done and finished the first draft of that fucking story that's been taking me forever to finish.
Nice.
And it has come out to a little over 15,000 words. Once I do some editing and, the rewrites, but mainly the last arc, the last, where the climax is and stuff. Once I rewrite that, it might be a little longer, might be shorter. I'm not sure yet, but I'm very happy because I got this goddamn albatross from around my neck, and now I can go on to the next story I got to write.
Or do the edits on that story. No,
I'm going to wait for a little bit. I want to be away from that story for a few days, or maybe a week. Also, unless you got news.
Not particularly, no.
Okie dokie, that's the end of the podcast. See you later. No, I had some quality reading this week. I guess that's how I could say that. I had some great reading time this week. I did a lot of reading.
All right. So you've done a lot of reading and a lot of writing.
Yes. Productive? Is that the word you would use?
I don't know. I don't know.
I
don't know what that is, so I wouldn't.
I wrote a bunch of stuff on the board. So that's usually when I know I've been doing stuff. Because not only that, I did a bunch of editing and reading and stuff for the submissions for the Halloween stuff.
You were telling me the other day you had to do a lot of the submissions.
Yeah, I started some of the stories on that. And
now, was that the quality reading?
No. Going back to the quality reading. Monday night, I actually stayed up too late because I finished Revival by Stephen King. Because when you get to the end of that fucking book, you can't stop reading. Nope. And that was really good. I gave that a 5 out of 5 whiskey shots. That was one of my favorite Stephen King stories.
It's really good, right?
And the ending was so bleak and fucked up. I think that's got to be the most fucked up ending he's had in anything. Because, if you really think about it, we'll talk off air so I don't have to give anything away, but if you really think about it, that's the worst, almost the worst thing that can happen to everybody in the whole universe, I guess. I don't know, at least on Earth. It's a lot of H.P. Lovecraft vibes. I loved it. You loved it. We all love it. It's very good. I told Ash to read it because I think he actually bailed on that Post-Mortal by Drew McGarry.
Oh, yeah?
Turns out that book was before The Hike.
All right.
That was his first book, and he says it wasn't it was a bad book. It just, nothing, there was no point to anything. It just kept going, so he didn't enjoy that much, so he's been striking out a lot. Second thing I read, because I didn't expect to get done with Revival so early, and I was like, well, I still got a week before I have to read Blood Meridian, and so maybe I'll knock out some short stories. Got a hold of a copy of The Forbidden, which is Candyman by Clive Barker.
Okay. The
original Candyman story. Fucking weird, man, because it's pretty much Candyman. It's in a projects. The Candyman is, for the most part, like the movie, except it's in Liverpool, I believe, somewhere in England anyway, but I think it's Liverpool, in, a white people's projects, and Candyman's white. Oh. And he has, a coat that's, a multicolored patchwork and looks goofy, and it's just weird because you're just how did this guy become so cool? Because while menacing and stuff, the original Candyman design is just not as cool,
Now, who did the movie?
Clive Barker was involved, and somebody else, made some key changes and brought it to Chicago, the Cabrini Green, and, that project, and made it, a fucking cool story.
Yeah.
But it was just, a bunch of fucking, ghetto British white ladies living in the projects, and I was just I don't believe this. It was the 80s as well, but I just thought that was funny. But that brings up, because I texted you to remind me of this, which you did, even though you thought it was French. Now, I don't know if this stands to this day. Like I said, that was written in the 80s, but apparently, because I had to look it up, because I thought something was askew. I thought I was reading the word wrong, it meant something else. Curb.
Yeah.
C-U-R-B in American English. British English, K-E-R-B. That's what it was in the book, and I was because somebody was standing on the curb, and I was what the fuck's a curb? And I was I know what a curb is, but what is the K-E-R-B? And I looked it up, and it said that's the British spelling of curb. I got pissed off for 2 fronts. 1, the fuck. 2, what? That's how it should be spelled. It should be K-E-R-B. It shouldn't be C-U-R-B. That's Serb, if anything.
Well, I think there's quite a few things that over.
Yeah, but usually it's they add a color that has a U in it and things like that. But that was that's completely different. K-E-R-B, not K-U-R-B. K-E. R-B. That sounds like a weird person's name or something.
Yeah.
Curb. So, I don't like that. That makes me feel weird because then I'm like, that's how you should spell curb. That, obviously. And then I was like, why is C even a letter? Other than maybe the CH sound, do you need C's? No. They fuck everything up. Even my name, Caleb. It should be K-A-L-E-B, not C-A-L-E-B.
Right.
That's Caleb. Fucking dumb. Stupid. Like, that's the only thing I couldn't think of. That was like the word chance. How would you do the ch sound without a C? Like, that's the only thing I could think of. Unless you maybe threw like an X in and did. I don't know. But I don't think C's are necessary in modern times. Why don't we just get rid of them and make them K's?
I think we should just start talking like Kevin from The Office and not use words so much. Waste much time.
Why use lot word when few word do trick?
Yeah.
They did get him, though. I think at the end of that, they found the confusion there.
Yeah.
That was weird how he just started talking like that. But I think at some point I'm going to go into Odyssey just to find all the differences between British English and American English. Because I know the grammar rules are different. And the spelling obviously is different. But, like, I didn't know they could be that different. I didn't know we could have curb so wildly different.
A K curb.
Yeah, fucking weird, man. But then I was like, why do we spell it with C-U? Why is that a curb? Like, how is C-U-R-B curb? How is that a curb sound?
You know, because what always got me in school was like, whenever, spelling, they're like, just spell it how it sounds. Like, no, fuck you, bitch, because if I spell it how it sounds, it's completely different.
Have you ever read the word orangutan? It's orange tang or something. Like, it's not right. It's stupid. I don't like it. As you heard, any of the listeners who have me listen to me read different articles when various words pop up that I've never spoken out loud, or at least read and spoken out loud, a lot of hilarity ensues sometimes. I'm getting a lot better at it, but when we first started, like them early episodes, like I was botching everything. Botching all the words. By the way, because you said French before we got on air, because you thought I was talking about a French word, which could be curb. I mean, why the fuck not? But
Le curb.
Le curb. Whenever French comes up on the podcast, I butcher it like no other. Two things I cannot pronounce at all because I've done zero studying on the language or anything. Like Greek names and French words.
Well, I feel like with French, you could even do a good job of saying it, but they still be like, no.
No, you gotta say it with the throat.
You're wrong.
But that's not how you know it's a love round. Just the love sound. I don't think that's correct. But French, because it's a Latin-based romance language, it pisses me off because I'm good at Spanish. I can pronounce Italian words because it's close enough to Spanish. Yeah. Same with Portuguese. Fucking French, though, they gotta say things weird. And then, like, I'm a dumb when it comes to the French. Like, when we had Ash from Ear Read This on here, I didn't know, what's his name, Albert Camus? I never read his work. I didn't know he was French, so I said Camus. Wrong. C-A-M-U-S. Clearly Camus in French. And he corrected me, and I was like, oh, I feel like a jackass. Obviously, I still remember it. Like one of those things that'll never leave my brain.
Dumb American.
Oh, Camus. But it's just like, why? It's Camus, man, or Camus. Like, that's what it looks like. But I'm wrong.
Camus, he lives out in the hills of England.
Which is like a double kick in the nuts because I can now pronounce like a lot of hard to pronounce Japanese words just by reading them, or even some Irish words, which are just nonsense. But then, like, French was just apparently an easy language to. I took 1 year of French in high school, and I remember it wasn't very difficult. I just didn't, the school we went to, they didn't really teach.
Yeah.
But it was, like, I always worry, like, we go to Canada for a con or something in the future if the world's ever normal again. There's a lot of Frenchies up there. Mm-hmm. And I could just feel the beating eyes, their beady little French eyes. But they're also kind of Canadian, so maybe they won't be jerks. Like, I don't know. I've only had 1 week's worth of, meeting French Canadians, so I can't really judge them. But I still feel like that French part will pop through and they'll just hate our guts.
Probably. But whatever.
Yeah.
We should be used to that by now.
Yeah, but anyway, curb. We spell it wrong in this country, I think.
You should try to start, start spelling it with a K. And, in all your works and stuff like that. And just try to get it, try to start that movement.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Aluminium, too. That's another word that they pronounce right, we pronounce wrong. It's not aluminum because there's an I in there. It's aluminium. Minium. Not aluminum. There's an I, so why would we say aluminum? It's fucking dumb. But can you say aluminium without sounding stupid to yourself?
No.
Now, garage, I'll say that's dumb. It could be garage. It doesn't... Well, why garage? Nike? Okay, I'll give it to them on this one. Nike sounds stupid. Like, they pronounce it Nike. It sounds stupid, and it's like an American company, so if they want to pronounce it Nike, it's Nike, but we don't say bikey.
Yeah.
Say bike. Trike. Like, anything with IKEs, there's no Ike. So that's our bad. Adidas, so that's a dumb one. Adidas. Don't say Adidas.
No.
I feel like we've done this before. We don't need to do this again. So anyway, folks, stick around. We probably have a great episode for you. Do we have a topic? No? Yes? No? Yes?
Probably not.
Probably not. Spencer was supposed to buy some cords for the podcast, and he never did, so if the quality is down, the cords actually have no effect on the quality. It's just for your visual stimulation. Blame him. This is Big Daddy Caleb James here with the Drunken Pen Riding Podcast. We welcome you on this sensual night. My host, my co-host, Spencer, the Beijing Banshee Church, he's here and he's feeling fly. What the fuck was that?
It was a Banshee, like, but I didn't want an ashy band. I didn't want to murder the poor folks, eardrums.
Well, you, sir, are very kind. I don't think we covered this before, but I had this on my phone forever because maybe we were going to cover it, or maybe we were just supposed to read some of these stories. I don't remember. This is by the Irish Times. Do you remember us ever covering anything from the Irish Times?
I don't believe so. But it also sounds like something we would cover, though.
Yeah. It's classic horror, the 10 most terrifying short stories ever written. None of these sound familiar.
I would say no, because if we did, it probably would have been recently, because you've been on an Irish kick recently. Like, when was the last time you was on an Irish kick?
Yeah, but this isn't Irish stories. This is just horror stories by the Irish Times. I don't know why I'm on the Irish Times. Check out the Irish Times, folks. They might be great. I don't know. Horror works most effectively in concentrated, intense burst. I didn't read that right. Didn't sound right. Horror works most effectively in concentrated, intense burst. Which is why the most... I'm gonna go home. I'm already home. Fuck.
You ain't got no place to go.
I'm gonna go on the other side of home. You know what? Fuck it. I'm not reading the intro. Fuck the intro.
I think everybody who is listening knows what makes a good horror story at this point.
Yeah, it's got the word forbidden seller, though. I like that. I'm just gonna jump into this list. It's the top 10, but these have no numbers. You know how I feel about non-list form things. You know how I feel about non-list lists.
Yeah, like, what is it then?
Why is it a list without the list? It's got to be numbered.
It's a chart then, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. So we'll just 10. I'm going to say 10. I'm going to make a number because it's easier to transition.
We're saying that we're going down.
Yeah, we're descending. So number 10, Robert A. Oh, they got the fucking name of the author before the title, too. I hate Ireland. What are you doing? Watch the Irish Times not be even Irish. They might be like set in Boston. So number 10, Into the Woods by Robert Aikman, 1968. Margaret Sawyer, the wife of a prosperous Manchester building contractor, is bored and unsatisfied with her life. She travels to Sweden on a business trip with her husband, where she finds herself staying overnight at the Curris, a sanatorium for insomniacs, some of whom have not slept for years. There's a young girl who has never slept in her life. Oh, fuck. Yeah. Insomniac. Sounds so enthusiastic.
That'd be terrible.
Insomniac, she is told, are unearthly and mysterious, and often seem to acquire foresight. They are like trolls, like lost souls, like witches, like vampires. Sleepers cannot live with them for long and drive them out, and so they find themselves in the Curris, where they wander the labyrinth of Pass in the Wood all night. Why does it just say Pass in the Wood instead of woods? Pass in the Woods. This is horror for the... I'm going to read that again. I will fucking fix it. Because I was going to fix these things.
Yeah, well...
And so they find themselves in the Curris, where they wander the labyrinth of the Pass in the Woods all night. This is horror for the connoisseur. Aikman was a magnificent writer of the short fiction at its most unsettling and uncanny. In the Freudian sense of not being at home with oneself, caught in the right mood, his stories are unforgettable. Faber recently did the world the inestimable... I'm not going to read that part. I can't. Inestimable... Fuck. Faber brought the work back into print.
You know what I was thinking at the beginning of that before you completely and utterly destroyed that whole whatever that was you was reading? Is how strong the trope of, like, for horror movies is, like, somebody's bored and tired of their mundane life, and they're like, I'm gonna go live it up and just stab, murder, stab. Like, that's what you get. You should just stick with, with normal, boring shit and you live.
Just be bored all day?
Yeah.
You won't get stabbed and murdered?
Yeah, you still be alive.
Don't investigate a house of insomniacs?
No.
That's like, reminds me of the Russian sleep experiment, where apparently they gave these prisoners a drug so they couldn't sleep. And weird shit starts happening. That insomniac thing has always touched people in always a horror sense. It's never like, oh man, he's not sleeping, and then maybe like a weird fantasy story unravels. No, it's always like a horror story. By the way, Spencer, just so you know, I'm going to edit all my fuck-ups out. Okay. So when you're like, before you botch that whole... People are going to think you're a jerk. Yeah. Just making fun of my reading. They're like, why is he making fun of his reading? He went through that perfectly clear. Like, no, I did not, folks. On the playback, yes, it sounds like I didn't fuck up so much. But I fucked that paragraph up royally. You're actually going to go and edit. You're going to add things in there. It's going to... Like, it's just going to be like... And then the word... Faber had the hard... task of writing email. You go in the old Google and ask how pronounce this word and just have it up to the mic. By the way, this article, it doesn't say author and then have a name. It just at the top just says Daryl Jones and shows a picture of a skeleton. So I don't know if Daryl Jones wrote this article. Daryl Jones doesn't sound very Irish to me though. Like, who the fuck is Daryl Jones? Maybe he took the picture. Hey, Daryl Jones, did you write this article? Let us know. That's the skeleton, maybe. This is from Halloween Day, 2018. Was when it was updated. It doesn't say the original publishing date. They're professional at the Irish Times. I'm going to see if they'll take me on as a freelancer. Found a freelance gig I almost did, and then I did some research, and I was like, nah. Too much work for... Not enough pay? No, the pay was good. It's because they were hiring for every 2 weeks, you write one article and get $300. Sounds pretty good. Yeah. I'm not going to name the publication, but they model themselves after the New Yorker and the Atlantic, but it's an East Asian publication. And I looked up their numbers, and they don't got any like fucking viewers and readers. Like, so why are you... I mean, I guess it'd be cool to have the pay, but what's the point if nobody's going to be reading my article, Yeah. And then what are they making you write about? Just whatever you want. Oh, okay. But a lot of it seemed like very, like, far-right conservative talking points. Like, vaxxers are gay. I'm like, whoa. Vaccines make you gay, huh? It doesn't seem very, what do they call themselves? The, this will make you sick. The intellectual brothel, or the brothel of intellectuals or something. I haven't heard that one before. Yeah, so I guess it's a whorehouse for intellectuals. I don't know what they're getting at. Yeah, steer clear of that, Spencer. Don't try to write for them. I might still try to write for them. $300 every 2 weeks, not too bad. You right? Just for fucking one shitty article here and there. Did you do it underneath a pen name and... Yeah. I could be, no, I'm not going to the pen name. I like the fucking... My name's Hugh Cox. Number 9, Mr. Archelaus by Conrad Aiken in 1931. I don't like the name of that. A middle-aged Harvard professor... I shouldn't have been drinking fucking coffee. It gives me the gummy mouth. That's the problem. It is the coffee. It gives me all fucking... Watch it down with some Surge and you'll be fine. I always start grinding my teeth when I think of the Surge. I don't like it. A middle-aged Harvard professor, recovering from surgery, takes a voyage to Europe on a ship which, he learns, is also carrying a corpse home to Ireland. The ship is fog-bound, surrounded by icebergs. That doesn't sound like a full sentence to me. What are you doing, Daryl Jones? The ship is fog-bound, surrounded by icebergs. Mr. Archelaus begins to dream that he is walking through the stars and starts sleepwalking. Again, not like a fool. Did Cormac McCarthy write this? Because all his sentences don't seem like sentences either. This is exactly how that reads. Mr. Archelaus begins to dream that he is walking through the stars and starts sleepwalking. He is constantly cold. On board the ship, he meets people who remind him of other people. A traveling companion who looks like a woman he met at the hospital. A doctor who looks like his father. He encounters it's just weird. Like,
a lot's going on.
yeah,
there.
you don't have it on your screen because it's just like the sentence is cut off so abruptly. Like, it's just, he encounters a chess playing clergyman. He keeps hearing the same piece of music over and over again. Like, why would it just be he encounters a chess playing clergyman and keeps hearing the same piece of music? Like, there's no conjoining, like, there's just one sentence.
That has like 3 words in it.
It's fucking bizarre. I'm sorry, folks. I'm having a problem today. But yeah, this is exactly how the fucking Cormac start Blood Meridian today, by the way, folks. And the first fucking couple pages there, I'm just like, oh, I forgot how he writes.
You have to get back into mindset. It seems like.
Just like one really long sentence followed by 3 just random sentences. Like, it's fucking nonsense. Conrad Aiken's dazzling literary story is in the tradition of metaphysical sea stories from Poe to Melville to Conrad Aiken. From Poe to Melville to Conrad. Are you talking about Conrad Aiken or are you talking about fucking Joseph Conrad? I don't know.
It's just Conrad.
No, because he says Conrad Aiken's dazzling literary story is in a tradition of metaphysical sea stories from Poe to Melville to Conrad. Now, the guy's name's Conrad, but I think he's talking about Joseph Conrad because it's the writing style. Why wouldn't you say Joseph? You can't.
I just like how you just try to get through that metaphysical word just as quick as possible, like without it.
Well, it's not the metaphysical word that gets me, it's the fact that sea stories is right after it, so it's metaphysical sea stories. I almost feel like this should be a DBS episode because it's going poorly. Anyway, Aiken was a distinguished poet and a friend of T.S. Eliot, with whom he shares a modernist sense of contemporary humanity as The Walking Dead. Profoundly frightening, especially for middle-aged professors, and unbearably sad. Now, that didn't seem like that made too much sense to me, because I was reading it and I was all fucked up. Did that make sense to you while you were listening to me read that? Like,
not particularly, no.
I'll try to do better with this one. This will be number 8. Branch line to Bensonton by Sir Andrew Caldecott.
It sounds like a great start.
These fucked up names.
Maybe this is why we never did this.
Maybe. This was written in 1947. Bensonton? Branch line to Bensonton. Benseston. Fucking terrible name for a story. Pro tip, folks. Try to have story titles that people can pronounce.
It helps.
Or if you're going to use a setting for a story, make it one that doesn't sound fucking dumb. Like, you wouldn't have, like, Worcestershire as a setting for a story because that would be like people would try to read it and they'd be like Worcestershire. And I only know it's kind of pronounced Worcester. I still don't think it's Chester. I think it's Chester-shire. I know the Shah because I heard a British guy say it. You're supposed to be Shah because if it's Shire, but if you have a bunch of shit before Shire, it's Shah because that makes fucking sense. But
absolutely.
Yeah, you guys pronounce it fucking Kerr, but you spell it Kerb. The right way, but then you say Nike. I don't know. A London music publisher travels by train to a non-existent seaside resort called Bensonston. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to just fucking lie down. This sucks. This is terrible. I hate it. I fucking hate it.
We can always bail on the episode.
I'm about to.
We're close to half an hour.
Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to read this as fast as possible.
Okay.
Stick around, folks. You're not going to want to miss this. A London music publisher travels by train to a non-existent seaside resort called Bensonton, where he kills his hated business partner and is found guilty of murder. Back at home with his friends, he awaits the appointed hour of his execution and what he thinks is an alternate reality. I find that kind of kills the horror thing when you say murder. Andrew Caldecott took to writing fiction late in life after retiring from the colonial service. He was governor of Hong Kong and then of the Ceylon something or other in the 1930s and 1940s. I find a lot of writers, especially like horror writers and stuff, were like in the army or in the military. Even now, like a lot of people that submit to us were military guys who later in life decided to start writing.
Well, I mean, especially with the horror stuff, they probably take a lot of the stuff that they went through,
right,
and use that, even if it's not like in a war setting. But you know, you have those. Like, I mean, where else are you gonna grapple with fear and things like that, other than on like a battlefield? Like, you know what I mean? They probably have a really good understanding and grasp of like that scenario and how to present that to the reader.
Plus, like, just, like, the emotions you're going to feel and things, What's striking about Branch Line to Bensonton is not just its uncanny sense of the possibility of living two different lives in two different realities at the same time, but also its contemporary post-war setting of city commuters in Greenbelt suburbanization. Could it be that what's really terrifying here is not the unreal Branch Line, but the real main line, whose commuters all take the same train every day for the rest of their lives? I lost some energy on that one.
Yeah, you beat it out there towards the end.
I don't remember what my count is either, so...
I think...
7?
No, I think that was 7.
You know what, fuck it. No more numbers. Next up.
Next!
His Beautiful Hands, written in 1931 by one Oscar Cook. Mr. A celebrated concert violinist, is irresistibly drawn to a Paulina, a Javanese manicurist. What the fuck's a Javanese manicurist? What does that mean? What are these words on this fucking thing?
Well, when was this one written?
1931.
So maybe like manicures weren't as big of a...
I don't know, but it's capitalized, so Javanese is a country of origin, I would think. The humble home of Javas.
Maybe.
Javanians.
Javawakis.
The Javanese. Unless it's just Japanese but mispronounced or misspelled. I don't know. So anyway, he's irresistibly drawn to Paulina, a Javanese manicurist who cares for his fingers like no one else. It's weird. Didn't know guys were getting their fingers done in the 30s. Paulina becomes his lover and gets pregnant. One by one, Mr. A's fingers start to get infected. Oh, that fucking bitch did a bad job. Then they start to rot. Ooh. Then they fall off. Oscar Cook was the kind of pulp Conrad. Again, which Conrad are we talking about? Are we talking about Conrad Aiken or are we talking about Joseph Conrad? Oh, be more specific. Fucking Daryl. So anyway, he was a pulp Conrad using his decade-running A Large Chunk of Borneo as the basis for a series of memorably gruesome and ghoulish tales of colonial horror, generally featuring cannibalism, sexual revenge, or unspeakable rites. This is a seriously nasty and perverse little number. You'll feel like washing your hands afterwards, but maybe it's best not to, because he's the finger rotting.
Yeah.
I think he is talking about Joseph Conrad in all these instances, because colonialism and... What, this guy, fucking Daryl Jones, got a thing for Joseph Conrad, I guess.
He likes all the Conrads.
He likes all the Conrads. On to The Phantom Coach, 1864 by...
At least that one kind of sounds like a horror story.
It does, and it was written in the 1800s. By Amelia B. Edwards, a lady writer from the 1800s. Now, that's an interesting twist. A honeymooning lawyer out walking on the Yorkshire moors gets lost in a snowstorm and takes refuge in the house of a reclusive scholar. As he is shown the way to the post road, he hears the tragic story of a mail coach accident 9 years previously, in which all 6 people on board were killed. Out of the night, he sees a mail coach coming. Edwards' classic ghost story is a staple of anthologies, one of the best of a great tradition of Victorian women's ghost stories. But what lingers in the mind here is not the phantom coach itself. We could all see that coming. I mean, I did, just reading them. But the recluse, a white-maned magus living alone on the moors, whose walls are covered in occult symbols, and who seems to summon up the story's supernatural apparition. Moving on to The Specialty of the House, 1948, by Stanley Ellen. A businessman takes a colleague to Shiro's. Oh, that's not right. What? How do you pronounce S-B-I-R-R-O?
Shibabu? Shibabu?
No.
Fubu?
A businessman takes a colleague to Sabiro's, the restaurant without pretensions, where the clientele is very select and the food irresistible. The house specialty, lamb artisan, fuck that up, is rarely served, but is the most delicious meal ever created. Is it human meat? Or is it raccoon meat? Because raccoon meat is lousy with parasites. This is the best story ever published in Herbert Van Thal's long-running Pan Book of Horror Story series and was brilliantly filmed in 1959 for Alfred Hitchcock Presents with Robert Morley as the hapless diner. I'm thinking it's human meat.
Well, yeah.
That's probably what it is. Next up from 1910, August Heat by W.F. Harvey. I've never heard of any of these authors.
No. Or stories.
Or the stories. On a stifling day, an artist draws a picture of a man on trial. He goes for a walk and finds himself at the workplace of a monumental mason. The mason has the face of the man on trial, and he's working on a gravestone with the artist's name on it. Is there anything scarier than precognition? The uncanny sense of being haunted by the future, or that you have ever been here before. Harvey's startling little masterpiece is the best story of its kind. I never read the word precognition or said it out loud while reading it. Didn't quite nail it, but I got it.
We knew what you were saying.
Yeah.
Compared to the rest of the paragraph you're doing, that was fine. And you drink more coffee.
Shut up, Spencer. From 1955, The Tower by Marghanita Lasky. Driving through Italy, a woman happens upon the Tower of Sacrifice. I like that name.
Yeah.
A high tower standing alone outside of Florence.
I hope there's just a huge sign. Tower of Sacrifice. I wonder what they do there. I wonder if they have tours.
Built by a Renaissance Satanist. Okay. Sorry, I fucking skipped a word. Anyway, so high tower standing alone outside Florence, built by a Renaissance Satanist. Rather against her better judgment, she stops the car and decides to climb the tower. I'm never reading the Irish Times again, by the way. Lasky was a brilliant chain-smoking journalist, intellectual biographer, and lexicographer. Who somehow found time to write fiction. I'm not even fixing any of these anymore. Who somehow found time to write fiction as well. Best not to say too much about the towers. The pleasure's all in the reading. It's a strong contender for the scariest story ever written.
But never heard about it, ever.
Best not to say too much about the tower. The pleasure's in the reading. The fuck? Of course it is. Of course it is. Why would I be reading this article if I didn't want to read the stories? I don't want to read any of these stories. Because the fucking article's pissing me off. Now you got Nitro riled up.
I get Nitro riled up.
Got him riled up. Now this one does sound cool. From 1964, The Little Girl Eater by M.S. Waddell. These people got weird names too. A man is trapped by a falling girder under a pier on a beach. That's most unfortunate. The tide is coming in. Even more unfortunate.
And he has to take a poo.
Oh, he sees a little girl who goes for help, but her mother's lover tells her that this is the little girl eater who lives under the pier. What a fucking dick. Hey, Mom, Dad, fake dad, Mom, Roy, there's a guy under the pier. He's stuck. Something's like he's gonna die. Oh, that's just a molester. Don't go near him. He's gonna eat you out. Don't fucking go near that guy.
I don't think that's what they were going for.
It's not like a fucking gross pedophile.
I think it was
monster?
More of the actual eating her as like skin off bones, not.
I don't know. This was written in the 60s. A lot of people did acid, so. Anyway, this seriously mean-spirited, unpleasant tale is a bit of a curio. It's what'd you say, curious?
What's a curio? Is that like something?
Like a curiosity?
What was I gonna say? Is that like a cereal that the fucking Riddler put out or something?
Curios.
I was gonna say the question, but I didn't think anybody would know who that was.
It's true. It's credited to Septimus Dale, but seems to have been written by the Belfast children's writer Martin Waddell, who borrowed the pseudonym from a character in Leslie This is not pertinent information, what we need. So it's one of the nastiest stories ever written. It's sensational. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that the guy under the pier turns out to be the child eater.
Yeah.
And he eats the little girl's head.
What would be the real fucked up thing is that he wasn't. He was just a normal guy.
That's probably what it is. He just died because,
people suck.
People suck ones. How do you get trapped under a girder, though?
Yeah.
I mean, if a girder falls on you, wouldn't you be dead anyway?
Fair point.
Well, I guess it could just crush your legs. Oh, there's fucking more.
How many?
One. Oh, just one. Whoosh. From 1910, Afterward by Edith Wharton. An American couple moves into a grandly dilapidated Dorset house that is haunted by a ghost, which, they are told, you only recognize as one long after the fact. Edith Wharton is by far the best known, most straightforwardly canonical writer on this list. But like Henry James, with whom she is often associated, she was drawn to the ghost story, as well as to tales of American cultural encounters with Europe. Afterward is both. I'm boring my fucking self reading this. I'm not reading anymore. I'm done. Fuck you, Irish Times. Daryl Jones, you suck.
A little bit, we'll change the topic a little bit. So we're done with this now. We're done with the list.
I'm mad about it.
We're done with the list. I'm about halfway through Norman Donald's book that you let me borrow.
Not a memoir, yes.
Not a memoir. Really good. I'm liking it.
Yeah.
I think it's taking me a little bit longer because as I'm reading it, I'm trying to read it as like Norman Donald in my head. So like, even though there's one period, I'm trying to wait real long in between sentences. Like I was saying, like he had to do like an Audible version of this.
A lot of people listen to the Audible, and apparently it's really good. I almost was like, maybe at some point I'll get the Audible version.
Oh, yeah, that would... I reading this whole thing, I was like, this is good, but this is probably great as an Audible book.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people in the reviews were saying. I was like, that's one of the few Audible books I would actually really like to listen to.
And I thought I was getting, because, folks, if you don't know, you might not know, a lot of stuff in this, not a memoir, maybe not really,
so real.
Not so real. And I was getting to the point where I thought I could, figure out what was real and what wasn't real.
No.
But now I'm getting to the point where I don't think any of it is real.
It's so hard to say.
I don't even think Noel McDonald was born at this point,
I thought that was a great book. Folks, I'm sorry this turned out to be a DBS episode because this is a fucking real dud.
We tried on this one.
Not really, but I just felt like the Irish Times let me down. The guy used too many fucking adverbs and stuff.
He did. If we're gonna let's take a critical eye to this article. So if anybody else listening, don't do articles like this. He had a lot of information that didn't pertain to the actual story that he was talking about.
I would say most of these, and he almost talked about the author more than the story.
Yeah.
The story got a couple sentences, and the author got the rest of the paragraph. Yeah, these are authors I don't know, so that's fine. Maybe have 2 paragraphs, one about the author, one about the fucking story.
And it seemed like he would jump from either telling you nothing about the story or telling you the whole story within the thing. It's like, okay, well, at this point, why do I read it?
Well, another problem with articles like this, another fun writing tip, it's probably best not to write an article, say, top 10 scariest, not just scary stories, scariest stories. I would have named that something like stories you never heard of.
Yeah.
Top scariest stories you never heard of. But anyway, if you're going to do a top 10 scariest stories, maybe read the stories. This person clearly didn't read these stories because there was no elaboration on any of the things. Now, I mean, you don't have to, but if you're going to give a list of something like that, it's going to give it a personal touch if you actually read the stories in question.
Especially when they're, not anything against these authors, but lesser known or maybe not as popular. It'd be one thing you'd be like, it, and you may not ever read it, but you know about it or whatever. You know not enough about it to what.
But nobody knows these stories, so it's this would, probably read some of these. Like when we did the top horror manga stories not too long ago. The girl who wrote that, you could tell she did because she personally reviewed after the thing, each one. She actually read them and she was passionate about it. I think that's just the best way to go. But obviously, if maybe this guy was just assigned the story, the thing. Just being it
might have been 2008, so it might have been one of this dude's first articles or something. So hopefully
2018.
Yeah, so hopefully if he is still writing articles that they are, that he has improved. As I'm sure whenever you go to look at any of our first articles, they are terrible.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, I don't know. I think every one of my articles is amazing.
Yeah, well,
I think I'm literally the best. But I think what mainly killed it for me is it's not just that he had so many adverbs in those little paragraphs. It's that he used these big adverbs refutedly or just shit that's why it's not necessary. One of them I literally fucking threw me off the whole sentence because there was a fucking word I'd never read before. And I was like, why is this even in here? Now I'm just trying to think of what this means.
Words that I would assume when you, especially looking at it on your cell phone, take up the whole one line on your cell phone. That's one whole word. Too big. Too
fucking big, bro. Yeah, what's an example? What was the one I said? Metaphysically sea stories? Let's just say sea stories. Why the fuck do we have to have I don't know. That was one of the worst articles I've read in a long time. And that's been on my phone for so long. I was excited to read those. I don't think that's the one. I brought up one article because I wanted us before when we didn't know we were going to read for Halloween. I thought, maybe we'll do some of these short stories. No, it was that article. So that's just fucking trash. Garbage.
Don't have to worry about reading those now.
Yeah, I don't know how you could overwrite and underwrite an article like that, all at the same time. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's almost a skill set of its own.
Your word choices are too extravagant, and notice how I used the word extravagant. I'm a witty, smart
Yeah.
guy. And then
You're a wordsmith, sir.
yeah. So the word choice is too extravagant. The actual meat
Description.
of the fucking article,
Bare bone description.
bare bones. Don't fluff up your work.
Lackluster.
I think who's trying to get away with spicing up the work with all these fucking adjectives and then not actually having any substance.
Maybe he's getting paid by the word, so that's why he kept on trying to throw all those things in there.
You know what he is? He's Hulk Hogan throwing those bullshit punches that don't connect. And he always punches his fucking left hand.
Yeah.
It's garbage. It looks like extra fancy because he throws these big meaty hands, but it's literally one of the worst fucking punches in wrestling. Same with the leg drop. It's like it's all the hulking up that gets you into it. If you just do a leg drop but you're not hulking up, nobody's gonna give a fuck, Anyway, folks, thank you for listening. You can still get some Halloween stories into us, poems as well. I forgot about those. I keep forgetting to mention those, but we only got like one poem submission so far because I kind of put that in the back burner. But usually we get a bunch of those, and I actually like reading those because they're faster and usually they're pretty good. Like Halloween poems are fun. I'm a big Edgar Allan Poe fan, so I like me a good horror poem, But anyway, you can reach us at thedrunkpenwriting.com. We have the guidelines on there, contact page, all that fun stuff. You can hit us up on Twitter at DrunkPenWriting, Facebook and Instagram, Drunken Penwriting. Spencer's OnlyFans this week is the Beijing Banshee. Do you think people ever look these up and then they just find like someone that exists and they subscribe to it?
That'd be awesome.
Like the Beijing Banshee is just like this fucking weird like Chinese lady who just screams in Mandarin while she's naked.
I don't know. I feel like we should get a kickback then.
Just screams into other men's buttholes like or something. I don't know. But anyway, check us out next week. I'm sure the podcast will be better then. I'll make sure not to have a By the way, folks, if you're wondering, I do prepare for these sometimes. Today I did not because I was actually doing work for our collection and stuff as Spencer got here. I've been very busy lately, so podcast sucks because of that. So be it! You don't pay for it! Fucking jerks! But you could give us money, or at least support Spencer's OnlyFans, because he needs it.
Yeah, I need it, man.
He's been wearing the same pants for a while now. I'm talking about underpants, and they got holes in them.
It's basically almost one big hole.
Yeah, you don't got to pull them down when you go to the bathroom
No,
anymore.
it's basically just the strap around the waist. I don't know. I just keep it on. I don't know why I don't take it off.
And even worse, it's like very loose, too.
Yeah.